until it happened where I have to visit in my life, that is, and not focus on, what's holding me back, or what's to bring more chaos and more issues in your life.
Welcome to En Charla con Anaís. Today, I have the incredible honor of speaking with Michelle Delossantos, a true pioneer in the realm of holistic healing and transformation. Michelle's journey is nothing short of inspiring. After embarking on a long healing journey herself, she made a profound discovery that revitalized her health and ignited her passion for helping others. Through her extensive research into ancient traditions and innovative healing modalities, she has created a cohesive approach that accelerates health and well-being across all areas of life. As the founder of Synergy of Dragons, Michelle is dedicated to unlocking the inner keys that enable individuals to manifest thriving and healthy lives. She believes that participating in your own healing process empowers not just yourself, but the entire collective. Join us as we dive into Michelle's transformative work, explore her insights on healing, and discover how we can all embark on our own journeys towards soul-aligned lives. So sit back, relax, and get ready to discover how to connect with your inner wisdom and harness the energy around you.
It's a brand new day. Wake up every morning and say,
Welcome, Michelle. Thank you for accepting my invitation, and it's a true pleasure to have you here today.
Well, thank you so much for that warm welcome, Anaís. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm very excited to share with all of you today. So thank you.
Since our last conversation, I found myself profoundly touched by the depth and authenticity of your insights. Your journey of self-discovery and transformation resonated deeply with me. The way you articulated your connection with the universe and the notion that everything communicates with us has unveiled such profound perspectives. I'm curious to know how this journey has shaped your understanding of healing and what personal healing means to you.
Yeah, New York City is where it really all began for me. That's actually where I was born, Manhattan. And I've been on a spiritual path for a very, very long time, since I was young. So I had an understanding and connection of crystals and also nature, my surroundings, also the great energy of New York City, which is going to ignite and excite. And so I had this really strong connection with all of my environment. And during the last few years of 2007 and beginning of 2008 is where really my journey began. And it was because of the environment where I was in, and the high level of stress that was happening. And for me, healing is it's very much a process. It's not about quickly, oh, I need to feel better. Oh, I need to take certain pills and certain things that, for some people, yeah, it's great. But for me, it was like really diving deep into what are the causes, how do we move from A to B to C to feel better. And yeah, that's where it really all began. And
Wow.
Yeah.
I genuinely admire the way you bridge the past with the present, creating this rich tapestry of understanding. I would love to hear more about how you integrate ancient traditions with modern healing practices in your work, and how do these time-honored methods enhance your approach?
Well, based on, there's like different types of healing modalities, of course, and there's Taoist practices, right? There's also environmental alchemy, really understanding, connecting, like there's feng shui, there's Vatsu Shastra, there's different forms of really knowing and understanding the environmental energies that you're surrounded with, and also the different types of healing modalities that I took. Some I did get certified for. But what I realized the really delving and diving deep into the core of why these healing modalities and these ancient practices, why would they be a great foundation to start with and to experiment and explore with? Because really what I was doing is, um, the best word I guess would be to dissect,
Mm-hmm.
to really dissect and really, again, go deeper into what this really is. Why is it here? And then understanding the history of some of the ancient practices and the connection that I had with them. And also, why was it there for me? And it was going into that place where I felt I was being guided, and very much there was a lot of guidance of a connection with my higher self, a connection with my heart, a
Mm-hmm.
connection with my spiritual team, the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it really brought a lot of things together. So I can also tap into that and also tap into my own gifts.
Wow.
Yeah.
Michelle, I believe we spoke about this before, that we're not all in alignment with our higher self. So, how do we know when we are going into that awakening moment or getting into a moment where we can connect with our higher self and understanding energies around us and communicate with nature? And like you mentioned before, everything around us speaks to us. How can we embark on that journey?
Well, I would definitely begin with starting to connect with nature. Even if it's, it starts with a park. It can be in your backyard, or it can be just with a tree, and really allow yourself, still your mind, because our minds are so active. We
Mm-hmm.
have so much happening, especially with our digital
Yes. World.
toys and things like that and
Yeah.
gadgets. So that is all frequency. So
Mm-hmm.
it's important to create that stillness at the beginning, and then if you prefer to stay indoors, I for me the preference is connecting with my heart, really
Okay.
connecting and activating my heart center, and
Mm-hmm.
just stilling myself and just doing different practices each day. So that's a way to do it. I mean, it all depends on what practice you feel connected with and comfortable with. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, exactly, correct. So now, if you want to start with how it all started, so people get a history of how, and they can relate better to how it started for you, so they can say, oh, maybe I can start. I'm going through this myself, or I'm at this point in my life. Maybe this is a moment for me to touch base with my higher self, or like you mentioned, your spiritual team, which is something that I mentioned to you before. I didn't know what you meant by spiritual guides or spiritual teams when we talked about it, but
Okay.
then after you talked about it, I'm like, oh, okay, so that's what she means by that. And now I'm looking into my spiritual team too. I'm looking into putting my spiritual
Oh,
team together. So, but that was thanks to you for enlightening me about that. So, if you want to just start with, I'm gonna give you an open space now for you to just speak as you like.
for everybody's different. For everybody's very unique. And what I'm sharing is based on my own experiences, things that I have learned, but also things that I have explored, because I'm a big believer in exploring and also having discernment
Mm-hmm.
in what I'm receiving is always very important,
Mm-hmm.
to really check in with yourself. So my healing journey began, which it began in New York City, and then I moved to Portland, Oregon, and that was when it intensified.
I
Yeah.
remember that. Yes.
Yeah, and to the point where the short version for all of you is, I started to have paralysis on my left side and my heart,
Mm-hmm.
and then complications with, so many of my different systems. I lost my memory, and eventually it came to the very end. I lost the ability to read and write. So that was pretty serious,
Mm-hmm.
and this was where, and this is why I call it a journey, because this is where I started to completely explore and experiment with myself, my own self, and also deepening even my connection even better with my spiritual team. And to explain spiritual team, it all depends on what each individual believes in, right? We have the creator, God, the universe. We have spirit guides. Some people connect with angelic beings. There are so many different beings, spiritual beings out there that are part of our spiritual team. We may not be aware of it, and sometimes we start to, if we don't see them, we can actually feel them around us. And for me, I started to really feel the presence of other beings around me. And it was very pivotal for me because really they were the forefront. They were the supporters, and the creator and the universe, in guiding me, and also my higher self was, sometimes it was hard to hear. Sometimes you hear it as a voice, sometimes it's a feeling that comes over you. For everybody, again, is distinctive.
Correct.
Yeah. And the part where I really had to trust, with all the uncertainty around me, where my health was failing more and more. I'm also an artist. I've been an artist for a long time as well. So I combined creativity and, utilizing my imaginations to start bringing a cohesive sense, to all the things that I wanted to try, to help support me in my healing journey. So yeah, that's like what I would think for the very beginning. It was very important to really trust, even if there was uncertainty, to connect to my heart, to also feel into what was happening around me in my environment. Does it feel supportive? Does it feel like it's heavy or dense energy? So yeah, that's like the beginning parts of it. So I could go deeper into it.
No, and I would love for you to. I remember you mentioned that people around us, our own house, sometimes can be of bad energy for us, or not be the right place for us to be in when we're not feeling well. That might be detrimental to our own healing or health. Per se. So I remember you speaking about that. So if you would like to maybe go a little deeper into that, into what it means to be around bad energy when it comes to like being, maybe some people are bad energy to us, or just our surrounding, physical surrounding.
Oh, that's like be prepared to go into that rabbit hole, so to speak, because
All right.
it's extraordinary. And again, it's based on my experiences. And, some people have had similar experiences, but my experiences, well, it took me on this fantastical journey. So, and in many ways, I'm grateful. Yeah, it can begin starting from where you are, your home space, your workspace, the people around you, like you just mentioned. And sometimes we are not aware of it. There's a reason why, like if you go to the East, in many Eastern cultures, there's an understanding of, the environment, the energies all around us and how they move through each facet of our lives. In Feng Shui, in the Vatsu Shastra, which is it's a little distinctive from Feng Shui, and it's from India.
Okay.
But it's also quite fascinating. And there's so many different types of traditions. And so it really begins there. And then when you start to feel, you enter a room, for example, and you feel something doesn't feel right. Something's a little off. Okay, well, trust that because if you feel off or it feels heavy, it's because there's something there that hasn't been either cleared or needs to be cleared. So that is telling you already, like, okay, pay attention. And
Mhm.
also with people, sometimes we may not feel like a person that we meet or a group of people, it feels like our energy just feels depleted. Um, that sometimes may not be just negative energy. It's a combination of there are certain people that can, like what they
Mhm.
call them, energy vampires.
Yes.
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes it's done consciously, and sometimes it's done subconsciously. They're not aware of it. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, sometimes I think even if they don't do it subconsciously, I think some people, I don't know, for me, they're just born with some sort of weird energy, um, that may not be the best energy for other people around them.
There's like different reasons why. So, the first one that I will mention is I can definitely understand like what
Mm-hmm.
you just shared because it's happened to me. It still happens to me in my everyday life. Sometimes there are certain places that I'm just like, oh, I feel this, or people. But also, what I feel is really important to share
Mm-hmm.
with everyone here and with you is that we it's about really strengthening our field.
Mm-hmm.
That's really very important. And also the way we interact and how we interact, like before we actually go to the, let's say, an event, or we're going out and we're surrounded by people,
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be energies. There's all kinds of energies around us. I mean, we live in an energetic pool. And if we were able to see it with our eyes, our naked eyes, we would
Mm-hmm.
see the wonderful world of energy that's all around
Correct.
us.
Yeah. Yeah.
But by strengthening your energetic system, there are certain items that are good to wear, certain stones as well that are important to have. But the main important thing also, number two, is I would say doing your practices,
Mm-hmm.
really getting um, a practice in
Mm-hmm.
and starting your day and ending your day with some sort of practice. Doesn't have to be anything complicated, but yes, to really create, this important field
Mm-hmm.
of shielding, protection, and also to
Mm-hmm.
empower yourself.
Going back to our previous conversation again, I remember you said that you were living at a place. I believe you just moved there, but you were just not feeling there was some sort of negative energy there. You had to move away from that house.
Well, it was so many different things intertwined. So it happened two different places. It happened in New York, in the job that I was working, the building where I worked.
Mm-hmm.
And also it happened again when I moved to Portland. The home where I was living, it was actually a beautiful home, but um there were different people living there. It was like I think four of us. But the unbeknownst to me, I didn't know the history of what was going on there. There was a lot of activity, I would say, a lot of energetic activity going on there.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't aware of what that was doing to my energetic system because I was like, I've always felt all kinds of energy. So for me, it's second nature, and it wasn't an alert button for me. But it was depleting
Mm-hmm.
my energetic system. I was definitely becoming weak. It was weakening my system even more until it happened where I had to be rushed to the hospital and everything. So what I found, based on these two amazing human beings, one it was Dr. Tom and Lisa. They were the ones I actually and that's a whole nother story, maybe for another podcast. But they really did help me see at the time where it was really crucial that I needed to move out of there. I really needed to move out of there because it was not doing anything good for my health, and it was quite toxic. And there were also people there also with quite toxic energy,
Mm-hmm.
and so that also affected me. So I was pretty surprised. And after that, after I found a place, I found a new place, and I manifested a new place quickly because I needed to be out of there fast. My
Mm-hmm.
health started improving,
Wow.
and I continued doing sessions with these two beautiful people. And, it seemed like everything was getting better and better, right?
Correct. Some people around us, even if they're not aware of it, they can be, detrimental to our health in some way. And the sad part of it is that sometimes there are people that are dear to us, very dear to us, people that are close to us, but they're not doing maybe doing it consciously. How can someone, in their own journey of awakening to spirituality and holistic healing, how can they manage letting go of someone that is dear to them in their life, because of they've been detrimental to their health in some way?
Well, this could cause quite a stir among everybody, but I'm still going to share it. Uh, it's important to be really authentic and clear because I'm passionate about all of this because this
Mhm.
is based on my own journey and
Correct.
why it inspired me to really connect people and share with people and help people and support people in their own healing in all areas of their lives based on what happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
So when it when it comes to people that really are important in your life, they're very dear to you. You have your loved ones, it could be your family, it could be your partner, it could be your friends. I would say, because it's not just black and white,
Mm-hmm.
it has a spectrum of colors, and that's
Mm-hmm.
what I've discovered. What's quite fascinating is to really take a step back and really look at how your life is going at the moment. Like to really like my suggestion is to really step back and look at where are things just continuously getting worse in your life? Are you feeling, let's say, weak? There's all these different levels of that feeling of weakness. It could be fatigue, and where's that fatigue coming from? It could be from what you're eating. It could be your environment. It could be the people around you. But a very powerful thing to do is to also, write it down if
Mm-hmm.
you can. Write it down and say, what is it in my life, that is causing this for me, is causing me to feel this way,
Mm-hmm.
and connect with your heart. There are so many different ways to do it. Ground yourself outside, really connect with the sun, and even when the sun's not out, just imagine, because it can help you navigate certain difficult questions, or other people are sharing with you this person may not be good for you, or this place, they feel it may not be the best place for you. It's not supporting you. So it's for everybody. Everybody's quite unique. So what is great for one person may not be perfect for you.
Mm-hmm. That
So
is
that's,
correct.
yeah. So that's like, it's about really coming together and creating an alignment, a connection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that would be the best place to start at the beginning, and then see how has your life been? Let's say if you're with this person, if it's a partner or a friend, or, are they supporting you? Are they
Mm-hmm.
supporting you? I'm not saying just physically, but
Mm-hmm.
is there this energetic support there that
Mm-hmm.
you feel? You feel it. You feel it supporting you in your life.
Correct. Mm-hmm. And I can relate to that very much, Michelle. I think that I experienced it myself. Having someone so close to you and yet feeling that they're just something quite not right, something that you just feel it's an energy, and you feel this sadness all the time. And it's like what people call being depressed.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's just, it was about an energy, it was more of that feeling of, hey, something is not right here, we're not connecting. And it doesn't have only to do with a partner, it could be someone, a family member. It doesn't have to be in a relationship. This can be, if, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this can happen also with a family member or a friend, whoever
Oh yeah.
is close
Mm-hmm.
to you. So, being close to someone and feeling that their energy is not best for you, sometimes it's really heartbreaking, because you find yourself in a place where you're like, okay, I love this person, or this person is very dear to me, but yet this person is not good for me. It's like when they say a fruit has a fungus, and then you put another fruit next to it, and that fungus start eating the other fruit, and they both die. That's how it feels at some point. So being able to awaken yourself from that and wake up and say, hey, something is not right here. I'm not depressed. This is not about being depressed. This is not about me being sad. It's just something, it's some sort of energy coming from so and so. It's not good for me. So learning to manage that, and if it can, because not everyone is able to, let go of that person, or or put themselves at distance with that person. How to manage those times where that person has some sort of bad energy that's not good for you. I think you know teaching us how to work with that is a great thing, because you lived it. You went through something similar. Is that correct?
Oh yeah. I I went through something. It was in many ways it was pretty frightening, and
Mm-hmm.
also what what really brought me to where I am now is entering into that full spectrum of what and understanding what this is. Why is it in my life? Why is it here? How did I bring it in? Because there are, it's not about shaming and saying, oh well, you brought this in. A lot of people
Mm-hmm.
say, well, it's your fault. Yes, it's important to have own your responsibility, but also it's important to have kindness and compassion, because sometimes we're not aware why we're being attracted to certain places or certain people,
Mm-hmm.
and things that the reason why they keep occurring. Like if you see a pattern going on and on and on, and it's really an interesting journey. And then it's when it's important to explore, where is this originating from, and also with objects. So this we haven't really shared yet, but objects carry a lot of frequency, a lot of energies from where they come from. It can be the old vintage antique, and it could also be the new ones.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on how they were created, where they're coming from, the energy that was absorbed.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go into someone's space and I immediately know, you need to get rid of that object. And most of the time they don't like that. But it's like, if it is causing the ripples of discord in your life, you need to get rid of it. And but sometimes we're so connected.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And as we navigate these healing paths, creating a
Mhm.
soul aligned life feels so essential. What insights do you have about living in alignment with one's soul, and how can others begin to discover their unique paths toward this alignment?
The way to enter into that, like what I like to call the soul alignment, for me, it came into my life, I think it was in 2020 when a lot of chaos was happening in the world. For me, I was coming out of more of my healing journey. And it's really day by day, it's actually how, what you want, what you desire to bring into your life. What is your intention? What brings joy in your life? Okay. And it's so important to, even when it seems like there's so much that's happening that feels heavy in our lives, there's always that point where you just stop something and you just look. You can look outside, and even if it's just a little bit of grass growing from the gravel or from cement, that's a little bit of joy. It's like that's a miracle of life, right? Growing out from a hard foundation. It's very similar to how, staying on that path of alignment, if that makes sense. You're going into a space of every day doing a practice, as simple as going out and greeting the sun and feeling the sun rays coming in, and coming into your very being, and beaming that out to everything that you encounter, spreading that. That's for me, that's a connection to inviting the soul, to really start this alignment of, your life, your intentions. It's like a recipe, like when you're creating a recipe, when you're cooking, you take a little bit of all these different ingredients, and sometimes you do it in the way that the recipe book says. Sometimes you just be creative, do it the way you think, what you feel called to do. For me, it's very similar to that, connecting with that soul alignment. Because I feel nothing really is a mistake. It took me a long time to get there. It's more about going with the flow, just like the river. So I have to be very clear. I'm not a doctor. Okay. So everything that I have literally learned has been on my own experimentation and research on myself first. And I believe in integrative medicine. It's not like I'm against Western medicine or I'm only for holistic medicine. Both is very essential in many cases for many people. But when I was in this place of going to Western doctors and also going to holistic practitioners, no one really could tell me what was happening. And my health was worsening, getting worse. And I was, when you start losing all your motor skills, you're in trouble. And so, and I didn't have help. I didn't have the support of any of the government or anything like that. So everything came from out of pocket. Besides later on, my family later on, because they didn't even know what was happening to me. So one of the things, the nuggets, it was either I had to make the decision, a really very quick but very powerful decision. Either I do this, or that means swim, or I don't do this and I sink. So I decided to be the creator and the explorer. So this was like an adventure. It was a hard adventure, full of, Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. Well, this was my hero's journey, okay, because I went through the ragged rocks, climbing. And then I also had to swim out of this bogey. They call it bogey hole. I lived in Australia. There was actually one there. And it really brought me closer and closer of the understanding of the connection to myself, the whys, understanding more and more. And then it brought me to people that actually were able to help me for the beginning, the first part of my healing journey. And it was all based on taking that initiative. And what I wanted to share with others is it's important to have courage, even when you feel fear, because I was feeling all kinds of fear. It's important to have that courage and keep connecting to the courage, even when you feel it's not there. Just make it up, because that's when parts of you can be activated and you start to find answers. And my spiritual team, my guides, there's so many different guides, the angels, I also work with dragon guides, and they do exist. Yes. Just
And we're
like
going to talk a little bit more about that.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm all for that, because all of my team I give them so much. Without their support, I wouldn't have made it. And I will share this again. Without their support, I wouldn't have made it, especially the early stages of my journey. Yeah.
So I think the question came to me clear now. What I
Okay.
wanted to ask Michelle is that as you were going through that, you mentioned that you had to retrain your body,
Yeah.
you had to relearn to read. You were able to speak, is that correct?
I had some difficulty, with some of my speech. It wasn't that I wasn't able to speak at all, but there was a lot of neurological issues happening, that weren't there before.
You mentioned that you were able to train yourself. You had to train yourself to send the signals from your brain to, let's say, your hands. Can you tell us a little bit more about how was that experience? How was that process?
Yeah, there's also occupational, I think it's called
Oh,
therapy,
yes,
which
yes.
I never received that either. Well, it's a bit complex. I could narrow it down. Before I even regained my memory, I've been regaining my memory, more of it, like it was in 2023 and 2024, because I came out in 2020, but I wasn't fully 100% healed yet. But to do the basics, like cooking, like preparing, like dressing, it was very, very, very hard for me. And it caused a lot of issues to happen, like seizures and things like that, all kinds of things. So the training part, it came as an idea because I was like, well, what's the worst that can happen? I understand energy. I can feel, because I became very knowledgeable of my own body, of how it reacts, how it, including even my brain, because my brain was literally, there was all these interesting things happening neurologically and based on the neural pathways and in my nervous system. It's all connected. We are all connected. We are an amazing computer. We have an amazing system. So I started to also look at my body as a very evolved computer system, and understanding about energy and what it does. I started to send, electrical currents down my arm, my writing arm. And that's how I began with writing, because I would test what the allowance of how strong that energy was. And it probably sounds like, oh my God, that's all the way out there. But yeah, that's how it began for me to at least train myself to write with one finger, because I had to write with one finger, not with all of it. Like, when you're holding a pencil, all of it, this is all movement, and movement sends signals to your nervous system, to your brain,
Mm-hmm.
and it can cause, if you're having difficulty, you're having neurological issues, it can cause a lot of things to happen, including seizures can be one of them. So I was literally testing it out on myself. And so I started to do little social media posts because I could only use one finger, right? So I was using my one finger to type.
Wow.
And I remember that was the first time I ever wrote after my, what happened to me with losing the ability to read and write. And it was such a big, amazing win for me because I discovered that's how, I can do this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was the first part in doing that, working with the energy.
I think that occupational therapy helps. I think it's something that is beneficial. And I believe that if we don't have the desire in our inner strength to say, I want to do this, I want my body to get better, I want my body to heal itself. I mean, yes, it can help, but I think we have to make sure that we are also doing our part in wanting to do it and wanting to get better and putting the energy out there.
I do agree. That is so important, essential because it begins with you. It always begins with you.
Mm-hmm.
And, where are you willing to go? Where do you desire to go with this? Because, yeah, I really wish I would have had occupational therapy, but I've talked to other people after I came out of my journey, and they shared with me, oh, this is what would have been good for you to do. And I'm like, well, I wasn't able to do those exercises or even to handle some of the other physical therapy that they tried to give me
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't understand what was happening to me. So for people with difficult cases, who most of the time doctors don't understand what is happening, and it's happening more and more. It's happening more and more each time, each year. It's like they don't know what to say. They don't understand what it is because, again, going into integrative medicine, it's really important to understand that not everyone is built the same. Just
Mm-hmm.
because we are humans doesn't mean we're the same. It
Correct.
needs to be tailored. You need to look at all of what's happening. When we start to become curious, we
Mm-hmm.
really start to become curious about, where are we and why is this happening, and looking at it through those lens, even if you have fear, even if you're scared, because I've been there, I've been
Mm-hmm.
there, and it's really, you're discovering more, you're exploring more, and then you open up that place where your team, the creator, the universe, can bring in more support that you can actually understand. Whether it's
Correct.
like, a guidance of going somewhere or meeting somebody or reading a book. A big part of it is it's what how you're feeling, and shifting, the mind. The mind is quite powerful, and having a daily practice where, you're setting the intention of, okay, I'm going to go here,
Mm-hmm.
and not focus on, what's holding me back, or what's causing issues in my life, or if it's health issues you're dealing with. It really begins on, having a vision, because it's
Mm-hmm.
so important to have that strong intention. Where do you want to go with this, right? And then combining the mind with also the heart.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big supporter of that, because with the heart and the mind in alignment, There's this your inner power gets even more activated because the heart is a very powerful manifester. First of all, Heart Math Academy, they've done so much research and exploration, so much about the heart, how the field of the heart, how far it goes. So when you have that, let's say your connection to the universe, your connection to the creator, your spiritual team, whatever makes you happy, whatever you connect with, and you bring it all together, and that creates that alignment also
Mm-hmm.
because it's supporting you. It's like supporting you in how you move through the world, I feel. So yeah, so there's like so many different components of it. And
One of the things I wanted to talk about, Michelle, is I don't know if you remember, we were talking about angels, how
uh
way back then in history, or what we can find in the history books, is that they were able to communicate with us and talk to us. But at some point, that stopped happening, and now you mentioned that you're able to hear when something communicates with you. You're able to hear when a tree communicates with you, but that takes a certain skill, right? And I just wanted to ask, what do you think about what was the reason why, or what is the reason why we're unable to communicate with angels the way we used to communicate with them before, or we still have that connection or communication with them? It's just that we're not able to see it as clear as we used to see it, or people used to see it back then.
well, there could be many different reasons why, because one, years ago, and also when it was during the ancient times, there wasn't as much interferences with frequencies. For me, I started really understanding. I come from also a musical background, so really understanding how a note sounds and what it does to your body. Well, it's not just musical notes. It's also everything around us has its own frequency, including you. Every person has their own frequency, and like radio transmitters, we are transmitting through the field, who we are, what's going on, and we bring this into our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite fascinating that, and all the tests and all the research that has been done, even with EMF, there's so much about that and all the different frequencies that can create, this chaos in your own field and in your home space as well. So it's understandable why a lot of us are not
Mm-hmm.
able to connect like before, like during the ancient times. And also, it's important to have the daily clearing of our field, of our space. That's for me, that's number one. That really helps enhance, you know, the creating a deeper connection necessarily with hearing. It's different from everybody, depends on the clairs again. With hearing, it can be you have a sense, you're sensing a presence. And if you sense that it's not a negative presence, then it's leading you in the right direction. So, how do you decipher that as well? Because that's going into a whole nother spectrum as well, because it's important to know who's talking to you,
Mm-hmm.
you know, where are you, or who's in your space. That's also important because sometimes there are beings we don't want near us,
Correct.
you know.
Mm-hmm. I know you work with music. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what does that encompass for you? How does it work?
The soul songs come through the soul language because there's that's becoming actually more widely known light language they call it, but
Mhm.
there's so much more connected to that. It's not just light language. There's soul language. There's a connection to the light codes, and we have our own codes as well that sometimes they need to be activated, to actually really work with them.
Mhm.
The sun, the sun can also provide a lot of light codes. So when it comes to what comes through me when I'm doing, the work that I do, it's based on what's coming through, what's flowing through me.
Mhm.
It's having that intention for me, if it's clearing a space, so to speak, okay? I will, I have a sacred drum, so I'll do sacred drumming. I'll do the soul language and the frequencies that are coming through. I can feel what's happening, in the space within me. Sometimes I understand exactly what's being said. Sometimes I don't. But it's really fascinating how it's becoming this vessel where all of this is coming through, and I know what to do. I use oils, I use flower essences and crystals, and you know they're each coming together to work with me and my spiritual team as well. So I feel when I allow myself to be that vessel and allow it to flow through instead of controlling every little thing. That's, for some people they can do that. For me, not so much.
Mhm.
These amazing miracles happen. So I do believe that frequency can, depending on how much of it you're listening to, because some people need less than others.
Mhm.
It affects your cells. It affects your tissues, your muscles. It affects everything. It's happened to me, always exploring and testing to see, is this, supportive in every way in all areas of my life. So that's what I understand.
Mhm. Mhm. Michelle, and what is color therapy? What does that encompass? What is color therapy about? How can we practice it ourselves?
Oh, with color therapy, like color healing, I feel the frequency of each color because each color, like a musical note, each color has its own frequency. So again, going back to we're all surrounded by frequencies, right? So each particular color, like this color here, this is a blue apatite. It's a crystal, and the color of it, see, it's blue, but it's like a teal blue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that color has its own frequency. And so it's communicating, to you and to your space, and or if you wear this particular color on you as clothing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's either supporting you or it's not.
Correct.
Right? So with color healing, there's different forms of color healing. What I do is I can look at the color wheel,
Mm-hmm.
and I can also see what colors are missing in a space. And you're working with the frequency of that particular color.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I combine it with certain musical tones, certain hertz vibrations. That's my version of color healing. There's also the ones that you use color filters. You can use color light bulbs. It's very distinctive for each person. Also, with crystals, you work with different color crystals for each particular point of the body or space. Sometimes you can have a color like that can be draining,
Mm-hmm.
and then you pair it with another color, and that will sort of like reignite the whole color, like because there's also colors that work well together that are
Mm-hmm.
harmonious.
Mm-hmm.
right? Just like you want to feel in harmony, you want to feel in alignment.
Yeah.
Sometimes certain colors can spark that light, and you only need just a little bit. But for you, from what you were feeling, and it was draining you, that wasn't the color for your highest alignment.
Mm-hmm.
The frequency was a little off,
Yeah.
with that. Yeah.
And
So
I
that can
can relate to
happen.
it. Yeah, I can relate to it. I feel like I'm more of a vibrant color person. Nothing neon, but I like my light colors. Like yellow. As you can see in the background here. I don't know if you can see much, but
Mhm.
I do have a lot of yellow here in the studio, and just bright colors. I think that at least for me, it keeps my energy going. It keeps my energy at a happy level. So,
It's not always about love and light and everything. It's
mm-hmm,
just like, oh my God, when you're on the spiritual path. No,
mm-hmm,
I mean, it's important for people, to really truly understand that there are so many different areas. There's negative, there's positive, there's grays, there's in between. It's not really how sometimes we've been led to believe. At least, from my experiences and from what I've seen, the people I worked with, this is a fascinating journey and adventure we're all on. So
mm-hmm,
yes, people can, especially after, you're feeling that way, after lending, or giving support,
mm-hmm,
whether it's with an object, whether it's a personal item. Sometimes it's unfortunate, but it can happen, and it happens more often than not.
mm-hmm,
And then it's about deciphering and understanding, where is this coming from? Why did this person do this, or what is their intention, or why am I bringing this into my life, and how to stop this?
mm-hmm,
So yeah, I understand, because it's happened to me, and it
mm-hmm,
actually was what the second part of my journey, it was what brought me to the worst place, where it was like it took me 15 years instead of only the 5 years when I got better. And then I'm going through the second part, which is didn't make sense. Why? And it was based on that,
mm-hmm,
based on the things that people were doing. Again, like I know that witchcraft has gotten such a bad rep
mm-hmm,
over time, because of how it's been misrepresented and things like that, because it can be so complex, because it's not can be somebody with a very powerful intention, and they're directing all this energy towards you.
mm-hmm,
They're not doing any witchcraft. They're just doing, using whatever ability they have, or whether it's an intention. And it's like I call them darts. Okay, like if we're gonna get into this conversation,
yeah,
it's fascinating for me, because when you've been through it, like you have, right, and I have, I'm like I'm like a researcher. I'm like, okay, why does this happen, and how does this happen, and let's go
yeah,
deeper into this. And
mm-hmm,
especially when you're clearing a space, you're working with people, but it starts with you first. So why do people have that? Because people can. That's the way it is, and it's important for people, all of you that are listening
mm-hmm,
and sharing with us here in this, I feel, amazing conversation,
mm-hmm,
is to know not to become paranoid, because then what you think and what you focus, you're going to be bringing in more and more of it.
mm-hmm,
It's about really being aware, and also knowing that, when you start doing that, and doing your practices, when you start also surrounding yourself with, the right people. They don't have to be perfect, But if you sense something's off, I mean, there's little signs that come up that sometimes we're not aware of or we're not paying attention.
Mhm.
It's like when we have a wonderful meal and all of a sudden we're eating a dessert and this is time to eat dessert, to have dessert, and then there's something off about the dessert. So it kind of
Yes.
clashes with the meal you just had, which was incredible, right? It's like that sometimes with people and spaces.
Mhm. Mhm.
But there's a lot of misuse of power,
Mhm.
and it goes on. It's been going on since ancient times. That's nothing new. And also really allowing yourself and grounding yourself and making sure that you have a stronger connection with
Mhm.
yourself and with the space around you, I feel is very important so that less of that happens. Or
Mhm.
if it does happen, it'll be a deflection. Thing like right. Everything is energy. We are, and this is, it's important because it's not about like it took a while for science to even accept for a long time like everything is energy, and then when they finally said like, oh yeah, energy does exist, we are teaming with energy. You see, that's the thing.
Mhm.
We are the radio transmitters. We like when you shift the energy, and there are different ways to do it, but when a person shifts the energy of their field, let's say the biofield, not just the energetic system, the biofield, um, things can shift in your life as well. Like, let's say if you are looking for a job or you're looking for that right profession for you or the right partner, and you're wondering what's going on and why I haven't found that person or why I haven't found that job,
Mhm.
it sounds easy, but it's easier said than done. It's like shifting the frequency and then staying in that frequency.
Mhm.
And that is energy that you are bringing and putting out there. And then energy that's coming in is also, it's a language. The way I
Mhm.
describe it is all communication. And that's what makes it really a fascinating way of really understanding where it comes from, because you feel protected now, right? Like you
Mhm.
said, you feel like you have awareness. Awareness is important, but the awareness also shifts your frequency. You see,
Mhm.
as
Mhm.
you focus on one thing, you know that it's okay. Now it's around you, it's surrounding you. So when I was aware of more of my spiritual team, that's energy. That's a lot of energy all around me. So I'm like, okay, I have my energetic team around me.
Mhm.
And if you want to solidify, like really bring a strong foundation,
Mhm.
again, the practices, the food you eat,
Mhm.
right? The you don't have to be like for me, I eat very healthy, but also for
Mhm.
everyone it's different. But the more you put and you surround yourself and you bring a harmonious environment as best as you can,
Mhm.
it will help. It will help with what is coming into your life.
Mhm.
I mean, I do believe that because I've seen it happen so many times. Yeah. And also, if you connect with nature, okay, how can nature support you in this? And crystals, like for instance, me, I have black tourmaline. I don't know because my screen is so small now because I'm on my phone. It's black tourmaline, and black tourmaline is a powerful stone because one transmutes any negative energy. It's not like the other stones, the other crystals out there. It literally, you can put it in different parts of your home, carry it with you. It's a great supporter.
Mhm. Mhm. So believe me, I have already placed my order on Amazon. I am going to be guarding my
Okay.
house, my home, my temple. But on that note, Michelle, let's talk about crystal alchemy, because we were just talking about tourmaline, and we also spoke about selenite before. So tell me a little bit about crystal alchemy. How did you get yourself to work with crystal alchemy? What does that mean for you?
Well, I began really when I was young and curious with, just crystals. I loved crystals and fossils, and I definitely felt the energy. I mean, I didn't I was seeing the beauty of each crystal and stone that I would find, or that I would maybe see in the shop. And now you can find crystals everywhere. People go to gem fairs. I've designed jewelry, and I do like special mixed media for homes. And, working with crystals and metal is something I have a deep connection to. And so it all began when I was very quite young as a child. And it started to evolve just with what I was drawn to, the crystals that I was really being pulled. And I would hold them, and I would feel, oh, I feel the energy of the stone, and I'm like, what is it doing to me? And it was great. It was exciting to be able to
Mm-hmm.
work with them and bring them into the environment. I do the crystal gridding, and I started to really explore. And it's for me, it was like the stones are literally just like, they emit their own frequency. And it has been, from all the research that was done on crystals, I mean, they're used in computers, they're used in radios and TV and the phone. So, they emit their own frequency. And so it's quite fascinating when you start to look at the scientific part. I'm not going to really share that today, but um, the part that was really important for me is to really have certain crystals together, and they're communicating with their energies and creating a grid with them. Just doing a grid similar to creating a recipe. I mean, there are specific ways to do gridding, but for me, I just feel the guidance with the crystals. And so they started to bring different things into my life,
Mm-hmm.
different people, different ways of, creating a more harmonious home, helping me with healing. And then later on in life, I actually took a course. It was much later on, after I was coming out of my healing journey. And I wonder, wow, there's so much more to learn about these amazing specimens, that are great supporters in our lives. So yeah, that's what I wanted to add about the crystal alchemy. And they help you to
Mm-hmm.
alchemize. They help you to transform as well.
When you speak of doing a clearing, what do you mean by that? What is a clearing? How is it done? How do we go about it? What's the purpose?
Oh, there's a lot of purpose to clearing, because clearing can happen in so many different ways. There's so many different levels.
Mm-hmm.
There's the level where, you use white sage, and, the traditional white sage,
Mm-hmm.
which was originally used by the Native Americans, the shamans all
Mm-hmm.
around the world. There's also copal, there's palo santo,
Mm-hmm.
there's different forms of incense, but it needs to be pure ingredients.
Okay.
The more organic, the better.
Okay.
And you walk around in a some people can say you can do it counterclockwise first to clear the energy, or
Mm-hmm.
you walk clockwise, and you go every corner of your home or your workspace, and you burn sage. Um, and it's important to get it into the corners, right? That's to open up the space
Mm-hmm.
of any debris, any stagnant energy, any negative energy, any ripples of whatever it is that's there. So when I do a clearing in where I am. Also for a client, it's a little bit more. I put a lot more into it because it's important. That for me is energetic hygiene. You know, keeping your space clear. So you're doing white sage to start out with. You go around each part of your home.
Mm-hmm.
Then you use sound. You can use clapping. But you also have to have an intention. What do you want to bring in after all of this is cleared? Because you want to seal it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's different versions, different ways to do it. Depends on what you prefer. And be very clear with what the intention is when you're clearing, and be
Mm-hmm.
very clear what you want to now bring in as your space is cleared, and also your own biofield.
I know also that you were the founder of Synergy of Dragons. You were the founder of Synergy of Dragons. You want to talk a little bit about what Synergy of Dragon is and how it benefit people that you work with?
Well, dragons, I feel have always been in my life, and until one of my first journeys where I actually went through paralysis.
Mm.
I used to do practice martial arts, and I had an injury. Is when I really discovered and really deeply connected more to dragons as guides, because
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't aware at the time, but I would see them. I would see them because it's like angels, they're all around. And they have been vilified in the West, especially in Western Europe. But I'm starting from the beginning, so there's a little bit more understanding about them. But what I found fascinated was in the East, they were revered, right? They're revered. Dragons are revered. And also in every part of the world, I think maybe there's maybe two countries that don't have them, but there are dragon sculptures everywhere. I mean, there's dragon shield, there's this, there's that. So my curiosity started growing even more when I started to connect to who are these amazing beings, right? And guides. Um, so the synergy of dragons came together for me very clearly when dragons are known to be powerful transformers. So a lot of the different beings that are out there, spiritual beings, many of them come together. They can work together, and angels work a lot with other beings. So it's very cohesive. And also, dragons can go into places where other beings may not be able to go into, and what's their specialty, and they're known as powerful transformers, like the rising phoenix. And people talk about phoenix rising.
Mm-hmm.
It's this fantastical bird that burns itself and it rises out of the ashes. Wow. It's, in
Mm-hmm.
a way, there's similarity, and I mean, if you understand a little bit about feng shui, how also dragons are very prominent in feng shui, and why and where you place them. There's a reason for it. Everything has to do with the alignment of energy, of the kind of energy that you're bringing into your life. The energy, whether it's for transformation, for wealth, for healing. So Synergy of Dragons, it's a great name for how I work together with the support of dragon guides.
It's very interesting. I actually, a lot of us believe that some people believe that dragons didn't ever exist. Others do believe in it, but I know like in China, for example, the practice of believing in dragons, it's actually part of their culture. So it must be for a reason.
Mhm. Different
Yeah.
parts of Asia, yeah. And in different parts of the world, what was fascinating, why there's so many dragon sculptures literally everywhere. People actually stop and take a look if they travel or they go online.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna see, and also you see the dragons on shields and with dating back from, maybe 14th century, 15th century. And why is that? And so they have existed in the sense of, why the East reveres them, but the West does not. Now that's changing, of course, with so much that people are becoming aware of, are connecting to. It's about having a better understanding of what beings are and guides are. Because every single being and guide has their most specialized way, of bringing and supporting you. And also, what is it that they're here to share with all of us?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's looking at it through the lens of, you know, this is amazing. This is actually, forget about, like, a good recommendation is, but how can this be? This,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
we've been taught to not really see a lot of what's out there,
Mm-hmm.
and we've been taught to not have our given talents and abilities, which all of us are born with,
Mm-hmm.
to allow to flourish. And some people actually awaken further and reconnect with their abilities and gifts at a later age because of that,
Mm-hmm. Wow.
because it wasn't supported. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
sometimes we can see them. Some people have all their clairs they can see. Some people actually bring them out through drawings. I also paint, so I'm actually just, I don't follow any. I just do abstract, and then all of a sudden I'm like, wait a second, why is this coming through?
Mm-hmm.
And it's happened also with, other beings that I've seen, or if I'm not able to see them. But if we allow ourselves to open our hearts and just trust, even the uncertainty, and kind of, I would say, stop the chatter in the mind, and let's not look at this in a logical manner, because it's not about the linear.
Mm-hmm.
You're now going into this place of, when people talk about imagination, what do you think imagination is?
Mm-hmm.
Imagination, if you, because when I'm creating something, right, I'm tapping into the quantum field. There's an energetic field and I'm feeling it. And
Mm-hmm.
the same thing with any work that I do, when I do the singing or when I do the playing, when I work with the bowls or when I work with someone, it's I'm receiving this communication.
Mm-hmm.
So to kind of stop, still the mind a bit when it comes to the logic, because what I wanted to share, that I felt it's also was part of my journey, because sometimes you're in this uncertainty phase and it doesn't feel comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
and uncertainty doesn't feel comfortable.
Correct.
And for me, I went through a lot of uncertainty, and for that's what also helped me to open even more of the gifts and the abilities, that if I would have thought too much that, well, I need to go to this path, and I need to go over here, and I need to go there, and let me do this, is to really bring it all together like a composed piece
Mm-hmm.
that came together through, this understanding of what needed to be revealed. And I feel that many of these amazing beings out there, that sometimes people may not understand or be aware of, or think, oh, that's nonsense, that doesn't exist. They're entitled to their own views and opinions, but
Of course.
allow yourselves to just open the heart and still the mind, and in the Chinese language, I'm not sure, I think it's a Mandarin or Cantonese, the mind and the heart are together.
Mm-hmm.
So think about that. The mind and the heart are aligned together. And that is where sometimes the most inspirational, the most influential, less logic, more into, what is really there that we have not been able to see.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I receive great joy when I find when someone starts to awaken and they connect to their own gifts and talents, and they start to see life in this way of, wow, I can really enjoy this. I can really create.
Mm-hmm.
Or they've been told they're not able to do that, and yet they find they can. That's, to me, that's very, very powerful. It's about activating,
It's like
activating your own source.
it's like tapping into that intuition, that we all have. We all have intuition. We just sometimes don't see it, don't feel it, don't recognize it, don't acknowledge it. But intuition, it's guidance.
It's a definite form. I mean, it can be a great form of guidance,
Mm-hmm.
if we allow it.
Michelle, so in 2024, you launched the Rise in Love Soul Aligned Journey event, leading many souls on an extraordinary adventure of connection and personal growth. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what this event encompasses and what is it about? How did you come about starting this event? Like, what was the purpose of this event?
I remember I was connecting a lot with the love energy. And
Mm-hmm.
again, it's a frequency. Love is a frequency, money is a frequency, light is a frequency, abundance is a frequency. So I started to really feel. I think I was doing a sort of like an envisioning exercise, one of these envisioning exercises, and I received. It was important to do an event that would bring love into people's life, not just romantic love, but bringing a connection. It's
Mm-hmm.
like this it's like the energy of, like if you see an infinity and it's like
Mm-hmm.
a lying eight, right? It's like lying on its side, but it looks like
Mm-hmm.
an eight when it's standing up. That's an infinity. I was feeling that connection, the infinity, the love infinity. And it came to me to do an event that would activate people, to really connect more to the love frequency, the love energy, and to rise more in that love. That's why I call it Rise in Love,
Mm-hmm.
to support them in creating what they wanted to create in their lives, to bring about, I guess, more of that kindness, understanding for yourself and for others. So yeah, that was one of the inspirations.
Wow. Is this an event that you do yearly, or you just plan it as it goes? How do you go about this planning this event?
Well, I would love for it to be, like probably like every 3 months or so. I mean, it was in 2024, I was also traveling, and I was talking to other people, and I was seeing, this was really needed, to do something like this, and I wanted to actually bring it globally, for
Mm-hmm.
it to grow and become global. But it would be great if it was either every 3 month event. It could even be a once a month. But yeah, I did it twice,
Mm-hmm.
and what came from it was just, okay, this is what I need to, I really want to be doing this more
Mm-hmm.
often. because of
I
what
think.
happened with everyone. Oh yeah, I'm all for that, and for open to collaborate also, because it's
Mhm.
doing it in different spaces, different places also. Hopefully I'll be going abroad with this
Mhm.
again. It's not just going to be in the United States. Uh, but another thing I wanted to share is that I have a colleague, friend of mine, and we're going to be we're going to be teaching. So I'm going to be doing actually event is online, but it's in New Earth. And it's, it's great because it's great to do things in person. And also it's building community and group setting, so people can come together also virtually, and then coming together in person. So it's something that I'm actually balancing, and I'm bringing it more and more into the
Mhm.
forefront, because there's more online, than ever before, and there are even better platforms, and there's so much more that we can do. So bringing everybody together, and then having, doing the events in person, doing it virtually and online. It's, I mean, and in person is something that, I've been focusing on. So I'm
Mhm.
excited about that.
That's great.
You know, what really, what really helped me to awaken even more
Mhm.
during, because my journey, it was meant to last only 5 years. And it took me 15 years to heal, because of what we shared before, we were
Mhm.
talking about, both of us, about the people around me, the space where I was in,
Mhm.
you know, the person that came into my life that I actually married. And it brought all that work and all the great healing that happened.
Mhm.
It was like it just stopped. I regressed into this place, and I don't like to use the word regress.
Mhm.
But I started going backwards to, and I was even in a worse place. So the second part of the journey brought me deeper into the deeper understanding of
Mhm.
how all of these things that were happening, how they're all connected, and synergistically, how they have come together to bring the issues that were rising again in my life and in my health. So the whole thing with synergy
Mhm.
is also, it can work for you or it can work against you. It's
Yeah.
how, you bring it all together to either heal you, or it all comes together to bring more chaos and more issues in your life.
Mhm.
So that was an interesting part of the journey, because it took me again deeper into the space of understanding. And what I have found, when there is this incredible state of being where
Mhm.
I don't feel it's expected that we all have to be perfect and positive every day. And we
Mhm.
don't want to go into toxic positivity, because that's a whole nother uh,
Yes.
place. It's important to assess what's happening, and then to look at it from eyes of curiosity. You don't always have to feel like, oh my, I need to be positive about
Mhm.
this. Sometimes
Mhm.
you're not going to feel it. Sometimes you're going
Mhm.
to be going into all your emotions, and that's a whole nother spectrum.
Mhm.
It's another journey, going into your emotions
Mhm.
and understanding where these emotions are coming from.
Mhm.
But this was the part of the second part of the journey, where I started looking at a lot of things, how they can become my ally,
Mhm.
and what is not my ally. not my support system.
Mhm.
Yeah, including, the foods that you eat,
Mhm.
the things that you watch, the movies or the music that you listen to. I wasn't able to even listen to music.
Wow. Mhm.
Yeah, or yeah, any type of sound was not good. I mean, that's part of, also, I feel that's part of our clearing our energy. And I'll
Mhm.
go back to the energy, because for me, that's what it felt like. I was clearing my energy and allowing myself to really nurture myself, even if I was going through all those different emotions.
Mhm.
So to stop your, I mean, it's also important to balance it out and to feel like, okay, I still have a vision,
Mhm.
you know, I still have a vision of how my life is going to be like. So I'm going through this here. Let
Mhm.
me also get back to feeling, okay, you know what? How do I see myself? What do I see myself doing, and how my life is going to be? Um, I'll share this. This was way after, I already went through that journey already. And fast forward to now, where I am now in this time frame. It was in 2024, and I was traveling to Denmark, and it was my last time there. And I saw this, it was rainy, it was cold. Talk about being tested.
Mhm.
Um, and it was just like, I couldn't find this place. I was so lost, and I was in the middle of nowhere.
Mhm.
And I didn't understand, because the signs were not in English. They were in Danish. So I was like, oh, I don't understand this word. What does this word mean? And my phone wasn't working. So,
Mhm.
and I didn't see anybody nearby. So I'm here, I'm hiking. So I'm in the middle of nowhere hiking. And I'm trying to find, there's a museum in one of these places that I was hiking to, and I was trying to get to it. Then it starts to downpour. And I'm like, oh my God. And it's cold, it's rainy. So I'm just like getting frustrated. So I'm getting to the part. So I'm saying, I think I'm going in the wrong direction, because I'm heading towards the coastal part of where I was hiking. I said, that doesn't feel right, right? Trust your intuition. And I was going the wrong way. So I'm like turning around. I'm thinking, you know what? I'm going to go the other way. But then something again, I don't know what it was. Something kind of told me, turn around and make sure that I'm going to be going in the right direction, you know, after realizing that I was not on the right route.
Mhm.
When I
Mhm.
turn around, it's this huge triple rainbow. Not only like two, there was three. It was luminous. It was a huge arch. And I've only seen like part of a rainbow, especially living in the United States, but if I wouldn't have turned around at the moment I did, I would have missed it, because already the third part was kind of fading away, but it was still there. You can see,
Mhm.
but it was triple,
Wow.
and the sky just open. It was just, you could see the clouds. It was such a sacred
Mhm.
thing that was happening. I started to cry, and I'm sharing this because it was beautiful, potent, rainy. I said, I'm going to take a video of this, even if it's raining.
Yeah.
And at least that worked.
Mhm.
you know, my GPS wasn't working, but I share that story because that was where I knew that despite all the little mishaps, the little, oh my God, I'm in the wrong area, wrong route that I took. I was meant to be there at the time that I was, when it was raining the way it was, and I was meant to turn around when I did, to discover this miraculous thing, because it wasn't just ordinary rainbow.
Wow.
And I've actually shared it on my online platform, because I wanted people to actually, just immerse themselves in this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's how beautiful it was.
Wow. It was a personal experience. Um,
Oh yeah.
something was there to guide you. You were meant to see that.
Oh, I was meant to get lost. I was meant to turn around when I did. I was
Yeah.
definitely meant to see it. And I know why now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Thank you, Michelle, for your profound insights and the wisdom you've shared with us today. I think it has been incredible. It has been an incredible conversation that I have had with you today. I've learned a lot, and I know that a lot of people are going to benefit from this conversation. All the things that you do to help others, not only have helped yourself, in your own journey, but also the things that you've learned that you can share with others too, so as to help them as well on their own journey. This conversation has been incredible. It has been an absolute a pleasure exploring these topics with you, and I hope our viewers, listeners, they feel inspired to embrace their own healing journeys. And before we wrap up, is there any final thought or message that you would like to leave with our listeners, audience, our viewers?
Well, what I wanted to share with everyone is to, if you always believe in yourself, always believe in the power that you have within you, and to have courage, and know and understand that, you're a unique being, you're a unique person, and to, rise in love, to rise in blessings, to rise in health, to rise in prosperity. And you know, we all come together in community and sharing our own internal wisdom. And that's what I wanted to really leave with everyone here, is to let's share our power. Let's share who we are.
That's true. Yes. It's about sharing and sharing good energy. That good energy has to go around more often. So, and with that, we're wrapping up another enlightening episode of Ambiente Social Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. There's so much more to come, and I can't wait to share the insights and stories from our upcoming interviews in En Charla con Anaís. If you found value in today's episode, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Activating the bell notifications will ensure that you are the first one to know when we drop new content. So join our growing community and let's embark on this journey. Your support means the world to me, and I'm excited to have you along for the ride. So until next time, keep the conversation going, and remember, every story matters. So thank you for being here. God bless.